Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Beyond the Track Sports Business Unfiltered, where we explore the careers, systems, and ideas that exist beyond the playing field. So far, we have spoken about large sporting events, inclusion programs, strategic partnerships, and the legal side of sport. So today we will be diving into the part of sports industry that most people consume every day but rarely think about as a career, business, or any leadership space, sports media, commentary, and influence. Today I'm excited to welcome Mrs. Charvi Bhatt. Charvi is a sport partnerships and development executive, a sports commentator, an educator, and a PhD scholar in sports administration. She has represented the UAE's women's cricket team for 14 years, is a qualified cricket coach, and is widely recognized as the only female cricket voice in the Middle East. She has commented on over 750 international matches, teaches in universities, mentors young people, and researches leadership and gender roles in sports. So thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and thank you so much to you for having me.
Oh yeah, of course. Let's get started with the questions. We all love watching cricket with the commentators getting excited, but I never really think about how it's actually a business. So, from your work in broadcasting, can you explain how sports commentary makes money and who pays for all of it? Is it the TV channels, sponsors, or the cricket boards?
That's a great question. Firstly, it's not the commentary itself. It's the production overall or the broadcast overall of any particular game, because there are so many different avenues of something that is forced and which is visible, and something that is present, just as a backdrop, which gives the brand a lot of highlights. Who pays for me as a commentator is my producer or the production company. Could be the TV channel that hires me, or a radio channel, or the network that hires me. They're the ones that place that money. Where does the money really come from? Of course, it comes from sponsors. It comes from the boards. The board organizes the tournament, and they get funding from the sponsors. They've got funding of their own, which they put in. And of course, that funding then funnels out and goes into the different areas and verticals.
Ah, okay. That's really interesting to me. And sorry. And it's like a whole business behind the scenes. So that's really nice. And speaking of getting into the business, if a teen like me or someone was listening, and wanted to work in sports media one day, what is one small skill that we should be learning right now?
I think the most important skill to be part of sports broadcasting is the knowledge, and to be able to present that knowledge. Having the knowledge is one thing, but being able to present it is a completely different thing. You may speak to an individual who's highly intelligent, knows their subject in and out, but may not be able to present it as well as they know it. So,
Hmm.
in being able to present it, being able to speak clearly, for example, making sure that you keep it simple. So, whoever it is your audience is, because if it's sport, you would never really have one particular um, focused audience. You will have a very wide range of audience, and through across different age groups, coming from different cultures, demographics. So that understanding that I can keep it very simple, so you understand what I'm trying to communicate to you,
Yeah.
that is very important.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Communication is very important and conveying the
Yeah,
knowledge as well.
yeah, yeah.
And moving on to the next question, you're known as the only female cricket commentator in the Middle East, which is really amazing in a field that's usually full of men. So, how did you build your credibility so that fans and experts take your analysis seriously? And how, or like, what did it take you to find that unique voice and get respected on air and broadcast?
So that's a couple of questions. So I will, I'll go from the start. So this year, which is 2026, marks 10 years of me being in commentary and in broadcasting. Actually, it'll be 10 years next month, just around the same time. So just
Mhm.
mid-month of March is when I started. I do have the exact date written somewhere, but I haven't found it. I will. But it is the 10th year of commentary. I've done commentary for over 1,000 games now. That 750 number has gone cross, and I've done 1,000 games.
Mhm.
Um, at first, of course, it's challenging. Being a female in sport is anyway very challenging because um, there are people who will not take you as seriously as you want them to take you as seriously. They just feel sport traditionally, the understanding, of course, today we live in the modern world, the mindsets, everything has changed, but traditionally sport was understood something for it to be something for the men or for the young boys, not necessarily for females. And because of that foundational understanding, it becomes very difficult to make sure that you're able to put your point forward. So often, even today, well, it's changing. We have a few other female commentators as well in the UAE. Got one more who does, commentary alongside. But when I started off, I was still the only female in the room.
Wow.
It's not the most how do you say this? It's not the most happy situation, when you are female in sport, you want the others to be part of the same movement.
Mhm.
And the the technical fact that I understand the sport as well as you understand the sport, to be able to find that voice. So every time I got an opportunity to speak, which was very, very minute back in the day, it was very less, I
Mhm.
needed to make sure that I'm not beating around the bush, but I focus and I speak right to the point.
Oh yeah.
So no additional icing required on the cake, just that what's perfect, right to the point. Make your point, make sure that the statement is impactful, and then that's going to be that's really where it should be and that it should have potentially been. I think I've been blessed and very, very lucky to have had a lot of support around me, from, of course, family, friends, who've constantly made sure that they give that sort of encouragement. They're my biggest critics. Even today, there would be something that I would do wrong, and I'd get a message and saying, come on, get your act together. So I do get a lot of that, definitely do. But it's hard. Even today, yes, we live in the modern world. Yes, we are progressing globally, but being a female in sport is hard.
Hmm. Yeah, I can imagine that it couldn't have been easy. And yeah, it's pretty difficult being the only one in the room who's a female. And I would also like to congratulate you a little early on your 10 years of commentary. So
Thank you.
congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now, moving on to the next question. You have played for the UAE national team for over a decade. You commentate, teach at the university, and you're doing a PhD. That's like being a really good athlete and a professor at the same time. So, why is mixing real-world sports experience with classroom learning such a powerful combo for building a career? And how did it help you to build or move into leadership roles?
So, let me share something. A lot of people think that because I work in sport, I've got a degree in sport. I actually don't have a degree in sport. I did want to study sport, but there was no exposure back in the day. If I did do this degree, where would I go? Was there a pathway? Is there guidance that I will get? There was nobody to guide you at that point of time. There was nobody who would tell you, all right, here we go. You play a certain sport. This is a degree program that you enroll in. On the other side of the degree program, this is where you need to be,
Mm.
right? And these are going to be probably your potential career opportunities that you're going to be able to get, right? So nobody was there to say that. Now, why is it important, classroom learning to practical? I think I learned a lot on the job. I started to work in sport not a very long time ago. I've had corporate jobs, I've had event related jobs, doing some commentary side by side, doing a lot of coaching. That's how my career started off on a very, very shaky bed. It wasn't something that was steady, unlike some of the other people
Mhm.
that, hey, you're doing a business degree, you've got a, career, you've got a career plan, pathway straight ahead forward for you. You've got some, the university runs career fairs. There's a company that likes you, you get picked up, and that's it. You're into the system right away. It
Oh,
wasn't really like that. Started working for a few corporates. Worked for a lot of the sporting events that happened in the UAE back in the day. There were very few, but I think, we were lucky to get that sort of an exposure.
mhm.
So when somebody comes up and talks about a certain sporting organization that works a certain way, I can quite proudly say that not only have I been an athlete being on the field, but I've been an athlete in front of the camera being interviewed. I have then been somebody who's worked behind the scenes. Operations, hospitality, logistics, supply chain, all of that, everything that goes into putting an event together. So I know what happens behind the scenes. I know how broadcasting gets set up. I know how the cameras get set up. I know what it takes to put a, a particular game together and what are the different requirements that are required in that. I then am a broadcaster. I'm into media. So
Mhm.
I've seen what happens behind the camera lens in order to show viewers or individuals like you who are consuming this content. How is that created? What's the thought that goes behind, what is the thought that goes behind the production of all of that? So I've seen all of that. Classroom learning, it's important in today's time because sport careers or careers in sport are taking a beat. They are taking up. They've got some wheels, and a lot of people want to get into sport. A lot of people want to study sport, which is amazing. For educators like me, it does make me very happy. Oh, hey, amazing. You want to study sport. That's amazing. And yes, there is a career in sport. You can make a career out of it because now the exposure is a lot more. Now, there are very clear pathways that are created for youngsters like you.
Mhm.
So you know exactly, I enroll in this course. It's going to be for 3 years. This is what I'm going to study. While I'm going to study that, I might get some exposure to do some case studies, some field trips, probably an internship if you get lucky. I'll get to work alongside a lot of people that come from the industry. And by the time you're ready to graduate, there you go, you've got a few jobs ready
Yeah.
for you.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that classroom learning, that aspect of making sure that the student experience that they get, especially in sport, it's hard to create that framework. But I think a lot of the universities, a lot of institutions across the globe, they've been able to create that framework very, very successfully.
Mhm.
And a PhD, the last part that you asked me about, I mean, if I remember that correctly, that
Yeah.
is, a doctorate, it's more, I think I'm doing that because I want to see a real change in the world. It's not got to do about just another research project that I will do because I need an addition to my name or I want like a prefix in front of my name. Um, but it's got to do a lot with the fact that I want to see a change, a visible change in the world.
Oh, that's really inspiring. And I think it's really cool how it all connects. Like you said that you have been a player on field and also seen the behind the scenes and how the camera works and everything. So I think it's really cool. And I definitely agree that the exposure right now is definitely way more than the past, and sports is more encouraged. So I definitely agree with everything you've said. Now, moving on to the fourth question. A lot of people think you need a fancy title like manager or CEO to be a leader, but you've led through mentoring players, influencing the game from the commentary box, and your visibility. So, the sports world, how do people lead through their actions, ideas, and by helping others without having a big title? And can you share any examples from your time with the UAE team or in broadcasting?
Um, a lot of people think and you very rightly mentioned, they think that you need to have a title. Only then you're going to be able to be looked up to, or then it's only going to be when people will respect you. No, that's really not what it is. In all honesty, it all depends on who you are as an individual. Firstly, who you are as a human being. That's very, very important. Are you able to connect to an individual? In my opinion, is something that is very, very important, because I feel that a true leader, is one who connects to a certain human being in a certain way, so they're able to guide them, they're able to mentor them. There is one thing that I've learned, and I keep it very close to me wherever I go, no matter what projects that I do, anything that I do, is gratitude, empathy, and compassion. These are three things that take you a long way. And I think a leader needs to have all of these three qualities.
Yeah.
Just because you're a leader, that does not mean that you're ungrateful or you don't have the gratitude. I think the leader is the one in a group that has to be the most humble, that has to be the most forgiving, the one that lets go before anybody else would let go of something that's holding them, or the burden that's holding them.
Mm.
That is a true leader. Someone who is able to stand right in front of the group and be like, don't worry, I'm going to be your wall, and then I will protect you. So you don't need a fancy title. You don't need any of that to create an impact. You get multiple different opportunities to create an impact. In the commentary box, when I did do a lot of the games, and I'm talking about maybe 10 years back, about 9 years, 8 years back. When I started off, it was still all right. I was looking up to a lot of people. Um, there were a lot of people who didn't understand a lot of things, but there are different ways in which you communicate that to them. They may not understand it, but you guide them through, you lead them on. That's what you learn in broadcasting, that you're not able to see a certain game that's going a certain way. Then you being in the lead position, you lead them on, and then you ask them to keep filling in with their opinions. So you ask them a question and they will answer. So you have that sort of a connection with them.
Yeah.
So you don't, again, and I'll say this again, you don't need a fancy title, but I'll tell you what, sometimes for a self, something that makes you feel better about yourself, the title does the job. Morally,
Yeah.
it does.
True. Yeah. That's definitely true. Thank you for also defining what a real leader looks like, especially the three important things. I definitely agree with this as well. And now we are going to the last question of this podcast, which is that you have been in so many roles, as you have mentioned. You have been an international cricketer, a commentator, educator, and so I was wondering, how important is it for people in sports who aren't necessarily star athletes to build their own personal brands? And for a teenager who's passionate for sports, what's a simple way to start building that brand today on maybe like a platform like Instagram or TikTok?
Let me clarify one thing. These days, youngsters think everything's got to do with branding. Everything is, for example, Charvi Bhatt is a brand, Arana is a brand. No, you're an individual before you're a brand. Let's not forget that.
Mm-hmm.
And to understand that as an individual, it's you, and you're taking your name forward, unless somebody obviously offers to take your name forward.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
only advice that I would give youngsters, firstly, is sit down by yourself, create a roadmap. Where do you see yourself? Ask yourself a question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah.
I was asked that question
Mm-hmm.
by someone a lot of times, and that got me thinking that I need to down by myself, and I need to create that sort of a map for myself. Otherwise, not having a vision not knowing where you're going in the next 10 years, in the next 5 years, it will not drive you. It won't give you the boost, it won't give you the motivation that you require to work towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Creating a brand on social media platforms, amazing. I've seen some young people do some really amazing things, the kind of content they create. And it's great, it's amazing. Where do you want this content to grow? Are you just going to grow it because you want to put some money in the bank? Are you trying to create an impact? Are you what's the next phase? You'll do it for 6 months, but what's happening in the seventh month? How are you going to make sure that what you're creating with your brand is not going to be repetitive?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it is repetitive, what's the context for the repetition?
Yeah.
How are you guiding that? Where is that being focused? So any youngster that comes and speaks to me, and I tell them, sit down with yourself, put that down on paper. That understanding is extremely important.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really helpful, and especially knowing your vision and what you want to do, that's really important as well. So thank you for sharing that information, and I could actually use some of that too.
I'm
And
glad to hear that I've been able to create an impact. That's great.
yeah. And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey. I thought it was really interesting. This conversation showed us that sports is not just about performance, it's about influence, like you just mentioned, education, leadership, and shaping how the world sees sport. And for everyone listening, I hope this episode helped you realize that there are so many meaningful careers in sport, in media, education, research, and leadership. Thank you for tuning in to Beyond the Track Sports Business Unfiltered. See you in the next episode.